So I've given you guys access to record as well. Feel free to record the session. Okay. And I'm sharing my screen again just to complete this topic, right? So uh, with this managed disk, you have high availability in a VM level and the disk level as well. Okay. With the unmanaged disk, you have all these challenges. That's why Microsoft is going to move away from the unmanaged disk option. So you will see only the managed disk option in near future. Okay, and it is recommended to use it. And I'm sure it is very easy to manage as well because I've been using it for a while. It's very easy. Okay, and it's easy to manage and operate. So now you guys understood what is compute, what is storage, and what is network. And when it comes to the compute, what resources we are talking about CPU and memory and temporary disk. When it comes to the storage, we talk about managed disk and unmanaged disk and your OS disk. So sometimes, when you create a virtual machine, as I mentioned, you get a OS disk and temporary disk. So OS disk is not sufficient. You want to attach an additional disk, right? In Azure, we call them as a data disk. The additional disk we call it as a data disk. So you are going to attach data disk, right? As many disks as you want, depends on the VM and the region, right? You can attach directly from the storage. I mean, there is nothing called storage in Azure where you are going to place the disk, right? You just go to Azure portal, just look for the disk, create an empty disk, attach the disk to Azure virtual machine. Other than OS disk, whatever the disk you are attaching, we call it as a data disk, right? That is the thing that we have to, understand, right? Now, I think it is clear to everyone what is OS disk, what is data disk, and what is the compute, temporary drive, CPU, memory, and availability set. Okay, these are very, very important topics. All right. So now what we will do, we'll go ahead and create a virtual machine in Azure portal. Okay. So I already have the active subscription. I think most of them already have access to the subscription. If you guys don't have access to the subscription, just ping me your email address in WhatsApp. I'll be granting you to the Azure subscription. For this demo, what we do is we'll create a resource group. Okay. The resource group, I would say, uh, let's say web RG or, web VM RG. I'm going to place this in, let's say, West US 2 and create this resource group. As everybody knows that if you wanted to create any resource in Azure, what we need, the basic things what we need is we need to have an active subscription. And I've just shown you we have an active subscription. Now I need to create a resource group because any resource that you're deploying that should be part of a resource group. So that's why I've created a resource group called WebVMRG. Now what I have to create, our goal is to create a virtual machine because we have learned few things about virtual machine now, right? So I'll go to virtual machine section here. There are already few virtual machines which are in running status. I'll just stop them to save some cost. Okay. Now, to create a virtual machine, you can just click on create virtual machine, or you can go to create resource in the top left and go to the compute because virtual machine is part of compute that everybody understood now, right? Click on compute category and your virtual machine option. So you will see this experience is same whether you go to virtual machine and click on add virtual machine or you go to create resource and click on create virtual machine. The view will be same, and you see you have a basics where you are going to specify compute information, where in the disk you are going to specify the disk information, and networking you are going to provide network resource related information, and management is like additional features, management advanced and all, where you have additional features like you want to enable boot diagnostics and other stuff. Maybe that you will learn tomorrow session, right? So if I go to basics, you see there are two star mark here, right? And you see the hierarchy looks like subscription and resource group. I have active subscription and I have a resource group created already. I can create right away as well if I want to create a new resource group, but for this sake of example, I've created a new resource group and I'm choosing it. All right. So provide a name for your virtual machine. I'm going to say web VM1. Okay. name of your virtual machine, and location. By default, it has taken based on the resource group location, West US 2. I'm fine with it, no issues at all. And when it comes to the compute, we spoke about high availability, right? You see the availability options. In availability option, we have two things, availability set and availability zone. I did not speak about availability zone. Maybe I'll talk to you in next session. Okay. So I'll take availability set as an example now. Select this option. If you click on this drop down, it will show you if there are any existing availability sets configured in the same location of what you have chosen here. So right now, this is the first VM I'm creating in this region. I don't have any availability set configured. I'm going to create a new availability set. Click on create new. It will open up a new blade here on the right side. Okay, it's taking time. Okay, you see in the right side, it has opened up a new blade. I'm going to say web AV set because I'm going to deploy my web servers. And you see fault domain, it's 2 and you can expand up to 3, and update domains by default 5 and you can expand up to 20. So here you're not specifying what should be the availability, I mean update domain value for your virtual machine. What should be the availability um, I mean fault domain value for your virtual machine. That will be taken care by Microsoft automatically. Okay, I'm taking the default values. I'm not going beyond. Okay, and I will create and click on OK. When I click on OK, it's going to create a availability set while VM is getting created. So please get the SKU for this subscription. Please select another fail to get SKU. That's fine. Okay, let me just do a refresh and start from the beginning. It has some problem, it seems. Okay, I'm going to choose the web VMRG. I'll just choose a different location. Maybe this location has some problem. I'll choose East to S2. Okay, and I'm going to create a new availability set. Web AV set and create this. Okay, there are no size available in this location. I see. First, let me check what are the locations the VMs already created. So you have in East US, everything is in East US. So let me delete these so that I get some resources to create new virtual machine. Okay, I think this subscription seems to be disabled, guys. So that's why you're seeing this problem. If I go to subscription, it says active, but it might have been already consumed all the resources. Let me go to billing section and sign in. Okay, 74 US dollars. Okay, did anyone added any locks here? Okay, some locks are there. That's why I'm not able to delete them. That's one thing. Now I'll delete right now. Okay, delete everything. It should work well. It's deleting all the resources. So somebody have added locks in a subscription level. Maybe I might have added for one of the batch. Okay, 4 failed to delete. Okay, somebody have added locks here as well. Okay, do a refresh. So let me do this again. Okay, let me get started with the process. Virtual machine and choose this and web VM, and I would say east to us availability set, create new. There seems to be some issue with this. I think it's not loading very well today. Ideally, it will not take more time to load. So web AV set. So even the creation also taking more time. This could be an issue at Microsoft sometimes. It's not an issue from our end. Okay. So it seems there is some issue at Microsoft. It's not able to fetch the information. So what we do is we'll skip this. Okay. We'll not add VMs in a availability set. I would say no infrastructure required. So this is where you're going to choose your operating system, what kind of operating system are required for your virtual application to be running, right? You can just choose the right one. I'm going to choose the 22LR2 data center that needs less resources to run a virtual machine. If you look at the size, I click on see all sizes, and you see there are like different size of virtual machines available, different series of virtual machines available. Okay, you have D series, B series, A series. So you don't know what are these series are about it, right? So you need to look at this. How many virtual CPUs are needed for your virtual machine to be running, and how much RAM is required, how many disks you wanted to attach, and how much IOPS you get it. This is very, very important. Okay. So the IOPS are very, very important. Based on this, you need to choose what is the size is required for your virtual machine. If you need more IOPS, you go for 6400. Okay. And you need more disk or more RAM. So you have to choose the right one. If you go to B series, you get around 2880, but it is less IOPS you're getting. At the same time, you have less charges. You see here, right? It is all depends on your business requirement, what is needed, right? At the end of the day, everybody wanted to save the cost, right? You need to look at how much amount you are going to pay and how much you are going to get it. If you're fine with this 320 IOPS for this virtual machine to run a specific application, you just choose this one. Otherwise, you go for a E series, which is like more costly, but you get more resources here, right? More IOPS you get for a virtual machine. Likewise, F series, D series, if you go everywhere, it is saying 6400. Okay. Even if I go for other ones, here it is as 12,800, but the cost will be approximate cost. It's the estimated cost 27,769. This is approximate cost. It's up to you how you wanted to, which size you wanted to choose it. Okay, I will go with this B series. I think this one is fine, where you get 763 get paid. Okay, so now the next session is you have to provide the username and password. So I usually take Azure user, and the password is one simple at 123 for all virtual machine that I create. It's for testing, right? So you have to give the user ID password. This user ID password you will be using to take RDP of your virtual machine. Okay, and for you to take RDP, you need to enable port numbers. So 3389 is the port you're going to enable it. Okay, so click next. So the disk type we have mentioned, right? Disk, what kind of disk you have. So you have managed disk, you have unmanaged disk. By default, it is giving you the managed disk option. If I wanted to go for unmanaged disk, click on advanced, just remove this option. Okay, and you see there is a storage account that you have to create. Within the storage account, your disk will be stored. This is called unmanaged disk, and you see a lot of challenges as well. Okay, so I'll choose the managed disk. If I have managed disk, I can choose the disk and choose the tier of the disk. We have different tier, premium, standard SSD, and standard HDD. For the critical workloads, it's recommended to go for the premium SSD or standard SSD. For us, we can go with the standard HDD. Okay, and if you wanted to attach any existing disk, click on attach an existing disk. It will list out the existing disks that are available. You can see there are multiple disks that are available in this subscription. My student have created a lot of disks for testing. You can see them. I can select any one of them and start managing them. Let's say I want to go for data disk 1. Okay, and if I wanted to create a new empty disk, just click on create a new empty disk. It is going to create a new disk and attach it. That's fine with me. I'll go for a existing disk and with the standard HDD of OS disk type. Okay, click next. And this is where you are going to choose your network resource provider, where you're going to specify your VNet and subnet and public IP and private IP. You get it from the subnet, and something called network security group, which act as a software firewall in the Azure. Okay, so if I click on create a new virtual network, it will ask you to provide the VNet name and VNet address space. Based on this address space, you are going to create multiple subnets. Okay, one subnet I can say 1.0. I can name this subnet with any name. Let's say I wanted to deploy my web servers. I'm going to say web subnet. I want to create another subnet for DB. I would say DB subnet. Okay, you just give these values. Oh, instead of 1.0 you can put 2.0, right? And at the moment I'm sure most of them are not aware of the subnet address ranges, how to subnet these values, right? How to create multiple subnets, how to do a subnetting, right? I'll share a few links, or maybe we'll try to take a separate session for this, for to make everyone understand. Okay, we created a VNet. With this name, we are creating two subnets with these names, and we will choose any one of these subnet to deploy our virtual machine. Okay, so I'm creating this and I can choose any one of them. I'm going to choose web subnet. So if you wanted to have public IP for your virtual machine, just select these drop down, choose the existing IP if you want, or just click none, so that your VM will not have the public IP address. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and create this. We will talk all these options while we are talking about virtual machine properties, so that you will understand each and every component. Okay, so this how you create virtual machine. Whatever we discuss, compute, storage, and network, you are able to see, and this will tell you the validation. What are the settings you have configured? You can see them, and you can download this configuration as a template, so that you can reuse the template to deploy other resources. Click on create. It's going to create a virtual machine. So what we'll do in the next session is we are going to talk about each and every property of your virtual machine, and we'll dig deep into each and every property, and if there is an issue comes, how do we troubleshoot and how do we handle such issues. Okay, we'll go further and understand more about this virtual machine properties. Okay, any questions so far from anyone? Feel free to unmute and ask your questions.
I got one. You said availability sets, and then you also mentioned that you're going to talk about availability zones later, right? This usually we can assume that when you use the word availability set, it's in the same zone or it's in the same building. So if that building has a fire, we lose both of them. Like if you have a web server 1 and 2, and they are in availability sets, and if there's a fire in the building, you actually use both, correct?
Yeah, so you're almost correct, right? Whatever we spoke about, high availability within a data center. Okay,
Okay.
the data center is like a building, right? So within the building, if one of the floor has some problem, let's say one of the rack has some problem, you have another VM running in a different building, I mean different floor, right? Which is different rack. What if this entire building is down, right? What if this entire data center is down? That is where availability zone is going to help you. Your VMs are not spread across different racks. They are spread across different data centers. Let's say if I take an example of Hyderabad, right? Hyderabad is, let's say, central India. Okay, central India has a data center. We say central India has Microsoft Azure data center, right? So central India might have one or two data centers within the same location, two different geographic location. I mean, two different data centers, right? One VM will be placed in one data center, the other VM will be placed in another data center. If something happened to one data center, you have VM running in another data center. It is like that, right? So availability set prevents you in the rack level outages or node level outages, but availability zone will prevent your virtual machines reboots from a data center level outages. Okay, there is something called region, data center, and racks, right? So availability set works for rack level or in node level or a server level. So um, availability zone works on a data center level. Okay,
Okay.
so yeah. So if you wanted to provide, geographical level outages, you have something different. We'll talk about that. ASR.
Okay, and one more question, please. When you said that when you're creating a virtual machine and you select a certain kind of SSD depending on your need, and then once your need changes, you can just go into that virtual machine, and if you select it different, it automatically copies, or do you have to do some other process?
So let's say while creating this VM, I've chosen standard HDD, right?
Right.
So this disk I've chosen a standard HDD. I can change the disk type from standard SD to SSD or premium SSD. But only thing is my virtual machine should be in a stop status. And you're right, the disk tier will be changed automatically in the backend to premium storage. So I would say that data copy happens within fraction of minutes to the
So it does not
different.
matter how big the data is.
Which one?
Like, like if you had put in a lot of like a few terabytes of data, and
Hmm.
then you stop the machine and you choose a different SSD,
Hmm.
it does not matter. It can copy really, really quickly, you're saying?
Yeah, so that is what my understanding based on my experience. It writes the data to a different disk and which is in a premium tier. Okay, because we cannot just, I mean, they cannot just change the disk tier, so we don't know how the logical structure works. So based on the understanding, the issues that we have experienced, it is going to copy very quick.
Okay. And sorry, I have one more question.
No problem.
Um, the third question is, when you created a virtual machine, you have created an image. Like I was working with Accenture a few years back, and when you are installing application on the virtual machine, that application usually is installed on the operating disk side area, not on your storage,
Right,
correct?
right. Not
So
on
if
the
you,
data disk, not on the data
yes,
disk.
not on the data is correct. So is there provision, because sometimes when we were installing applications, those applications or like multiple application or single virtual machine, the OS disk might become small, and you had to actually, I think, call sometimes and increase the size of the OS disk.
Right,
So
right.
that is that's a possibility. So you can change the size of your OS disk.
Yes, yes, you're right. You're 100% correct. You can change the size. You see, right now it is 128 GB. You can go up to this 32 TB, I believe. Yeah,
Okay. You
right.
still have to probably stop it, right? Again, like you have to stop the VM and change it.
Yes, yes, there is a downtime required because you see it's
Okay.
not highlighted because the VM
Got
is in running status.
it. Got it.
So disk expansion, disk tier changes definitely needs a downtime. And one more question you might have is, while provisioning a VM, we have chosen one virtual CPUs and 1 gig memory, right? So if application consuming more resources, if I wanted to increase the, memory or CPUs, what is the process, right? Again, you have an option called size here. You can always change the size that you wanted to use it. Only thing is this VM needs a reboot. Your VM needs a downtime. Okay, clear?
Okay.
All
Yes.
right, great. Good questions. Anyone have any other questions? Rahul, Sai, Venkat, Vinay, are we
No
good?
problem. Yeah.
All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much for your time. And next session, we'll talk about each and every option. that is available in Azure VM. We'll try to dig deeper, ask more questions so that I will learn from you guys. All right. Thank you. Bye, everyone.